Okay, so we're starting here with 100 molecules. You can see here, they're, I'm calling them test molecules, and they're in a bounding box, but it's not possible to see what the actual size of the bounding box is. It doesn't have dimensions. I guess I could create a metaball of a certain radius and compare that, but it's kind of a pain. So I would like to actually just be able to show the dimensions of the bounding box somewhere on the screen, perhaps. Uh, the center point of this model is off the screen. And the reason for that, I can explain, is, well, actually, I don't want to go into that right now. It doesn't much matter. All of the molecules here are all the same size, which is because the level of detail is turned on. They're all far enough away that they're not being represented at actual size. Now, I believe that can be changed, but not within the context of this build. That's something that has to be done from the environment where this was created. And Ludo showed me once how to do it, so I can definitely turn that off. That's not a problem, but I need to have the whole program to do that with. Now, I think I can double click on one of these or right click on it to restart, to recenter it. I don't know, it's a pain. So that needs to be addressed. Anyway, let's zoom in on one of these molecules. You can see the level of detail changing. Very strangely, actually, these ones that are closer are actually looking smaller because the level of detail has become more accurate because they're closer to the camera. So as I zoom in, it's almost got an inverse kind of perspective. Now, here's a water molecule that I created using carbons as the hydrogens, and I don't like that because it looks dumb. So that's why I would like to have hydrogens. It's very difficult to navigate. I think there's a way to recenter it, but it's not clear to me. And then the clustering is actually kind of a problem. The clusters that are created by cellPACKgpu are quite large compared to the size of these small molecules. So that becomes a real problem if you want to relax overlap. I guess it's okay now. But if you increase the number, and then the clusters begin to overlap, and you don't get a good relaxation of the overlap here. It's just not optimized for that. So I would like to take and have it so that the clustering could be done on a per atom basis when dealing with these small molecules. And that way we could have relaxation of the overlap. That would make a lot more sense. I think I want to be able to have a field of water molecules, but I don't think that I necessarily that I'm not going to show water molecules in every example. Obviously, I think when I'm trying to show the concentration of other metabolites, I will exclude the water molecules, and therefore it will reduce the burden on the processing. As you can see, there's some strange edge effects going on here that should probably be addressed. And turn it up even farther, and you can see that quite clearly. And even this, I don't think is close enough to represent the actual molarity of water. So I'm going to need to be able to increase that. And increasing the count here is going to, of course, increase the count, but there's not a good way right now to keep track of molarity. And I imagine that could be done with some simple calculations. You know, just instead of entering a count, you can enter a molarity, and then it can use the size of the bounding box to calculate the count that's required based on that molarity. And that seems to me a very straightforward thing to do. Now, I'm no expert. Now let's zoom out a little bit. And it's a little tough to zoom out. So this had to be off center, and you know I did this in a hurry, but this is one of the builds that Ludo sent me, and as you can see, the level of detail here is making this look very different than it should, and that can be turned off, I believe, and I'd like to be able to do that. I can show you now the bounding box. If you increase the size of the bounding box, you'll see what is going on here a little bit more clearly. Gotta reset the seed. It's still not big enough. Okay, so let's reset the seed. Yeah, so obviously when you increase the size of the bounding box, it does not correctly change the concentration because it's just not calculated properly. And I'm almost there, I think. Compartments mesh. Increasing the bounding box. All right, I'm going to make a separate video for that.